there, welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is Marcia Bench. Marcia is a leading online business growth strategist for coaches, speakers, authors, and expert entrepreneurs. A 27-time author, yes, you've heard it right, a 27-time author, she invented the industry of career coaching, built her coach training school to span 50 countries in that specialty, sold it in 2020, and started her next venture. Marcia launched her initial business part-time while working as an attorney and soon sold her practice and home to embark on a 10-month national tour with her first book published by Hay House. She's currently the CEO of Transformational Thought Leaders International. Hey, Marcia, welcome to Author Success Show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's amazing to have you on the show, Marcia, because the first time I met you, I knew you were an author, but later when I did my research, I understood that you've written 27 books and there cannot be a better person to talk about writing books than you. So I thought I must have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much. We actually number 28 is coming out very soon. So
wow.
I can say it's finished. It's just not available to the public yet, but it comes out, in a while here. So, yeah.
That's great. So how did it all begin for you, Marcia? Was this like a childhood dream that you should become a serial author, or did you just discover this passion along the way?
Wouldn't it be nice if we all planned our life that well, right? No, I actually, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I was growing up, I would say a teacher. And I actually pursued elementary education as a collegiate path for a while. And I just realized that was not a big enough container for what I wanted to be able to do. So I got my degree in psychology and then another degree in law. And right after graduating from law school, my muse, I guess you would say, woke me up in the middle of the night with the idea for the first book, and that I would teach it at a specific place here in Oregon where I live. And so it was just this divine download that started it all. And I began teaching classes and writing books on the side as I was still practicing law. I then later sold my law practice 4 years later and went on the road for a full year with my first international book, which Hay House later picked up. So I went all in. Initially, I went tiptoed in a little bit, and followed my guidance, and then eventually went all in and lived on the road in an RV for a year with that first book and did 65 seminars. So,
wow, that's so interesting because most authors have a lot of passion around that subject, which is why they are spending months of their life writing a book. But once the book is out, what I see most people do is just go on a couple of podcasts, put a couple of social media posts, and then they move on to the next project. But you really took your book project very seriously. You went on a year-long road trip. So, and you also did all these seminars back in the day, right, where you didn't have all these Zoom sessions. So you did all the hard work.
Yeah.
So what was your vision behind this? Like, were you able to see the number of lives? Like, did you have a goal as to how many people should buy the book, or what was driving you to take such a big step?
It really was all about following my purpose, and that's just at the core of everything that I do. And so it didn't feel like a big risk. It just felt like the next step to take to sell everything and hit the road. Literally, it was a matter of I can sit, I got home from a weekend, was sitting in my office waiting for some payments to come in from clients. They weren't there. And I'm like, it isn't any more risky to go on the road and take the work out to the people instead of waiting for them to come to me. And, knowing that the universe will support me as I go along. And so that was the turning point, really. And 6 months later, I was on the road. So once I have an inspiration, I don't usually hesitate to follow it. I just jump into action. And so that was definitely a leap of faith. And I don't do my books the same way now that I did then. But that one took me 6 months to write and get into a published form so that I could actually load it into the RV and head out on the road. So.
Right. So you said Hay House later picked that book. So how did they notice, the amazing product that you had created?
Well, it was because I had a great coach at the time. She called herself a consultant, but now we would call her a coach. That noticed in one of the books that I don't know, I guess we were meeting in person, and she had noticed something that I was quoting from or reading or somehow had along that, this person's published by Hay House. I didn't know they published other authors. Maybe they'd like to publish your book. And it was a whole process of exercises that she took me through to help me get clear on my niche, and then to say, you don't have anything to lose by, dropping them a letter with a, request for a proposal. And so I did that. They accepted it. And so they weren't the publishing house that they are today, but I was one of the second or third author that they published outside of Louise herself. And I
this was how many years ago, Marcia?
It was a few years ago. It was back in I think I went on the road in '89. So it's been a while, but I got to meet Louise and be at her house and those kinds of things before she passed away. So that was really a treat.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. But I would like to talk a little bit to your authors about the approach that I take now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because you have come a long way, and I'm sure the process has evolved, the way you choose topics, the way you write, and the way you publish. So please tell us everything about the way you do it now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, even 10 years after that, I was still, Simon & Schuster published one of my books, and it was a typical, get an agent, get an advance, do the thing. But now, because we have so many tools that we can expose the content to our audience before we actually write the book, that's what I actually recommend and coach people on now is, and what I've done for the last probably, 15 books at least that I've written is put your outline together, something that really is either representative of a lesson that you've learned or what you're most passionate about teaching, what really feels on purpose for you, and put together an invitation and a series of 8 to 12 session class type situation, an online course. Teach it first, and maybe even offer it at a little lower rate than you might as your regular offer, in exchange for their commitment to give you testimonials about your model and how it works for them and how it's changed their life and that kind of thing. Then by the time you get ready to write the book it pretty much writes itself. I can write a book in a month now versus 6 months or a year, because I've already been interacting with people around it. And I've also gotten some real life feedback about what maybe should be switched in order and where, other stories I can integrate into it and that kind of thing. So that's a kind of the backwards formula. We call it the conscious author formula, but I really recommend it because there's nothing more intimidating, as you know, than a blank screen. It's like, what in the heck should I write now? Now, and when I wrote that first book before I went on the road, I did have that law practice. I had a consulting business, and it was in an external office. So I was on my computer every day at 6 o'clock in the morning for an hour before I went downtown to my job and came back at night and, maybe did a little bit more work on it. So you can do it in the pockets of your time. And it's so much easier to fit it in if you've already got a sense of where you're going. It's kind of like having the steps on the direction the GPS is taking you to the end result.
This is such a smart way, Marcia, because a lot of authors first do all the hard work of writing the book, and then they plan to convert that into an online course. But what you are recommending is the exact opposite. You're saying that convert your knowledge into sessions for your audience. Even if the audience is just going to be 10 people, it's still okay, right? As long as they are committed and they are just participating and giving you all the feedback, so you can do your course correction and then convert that into the book. So once you have all this recorded, you have these sessions with you, do you physically write, or do you take some help to get this written?
It's a good point. When I wrote the book before this one, I thought, well, I'll just transcribe those sessions and then just kind of tweak it a little bit. It didn't work out that way. It just didn't flow right. So I use dictation on Siri or equivalent on the computer a lot. It's improved so much since even the last book that I wrote, 4 years ago. So, it starts to just flow because you do already have that sense of the content and so on. You're working from the outline. You might copy and paste a few sentences or paragraphs here and there or a model, but I like to have it flow in a specific way. And so it seems to be easier to actually speak it. There's one other benefit too of doing it this way, and that is that, at least the way I teach, there's always handouts and checklists and templates and things for pretty much the kinds of content that I teach, for the most part, with the exception of things like the Tao of Entrepreneurship, that's more meditation oriented. But so those become things that you can either include in your high ticket group program if you do coaching, or sprinkle a few of them in as a resource area that gets people from the book to your online list so that you can follow up with them. So that's the other thing is how do we get people from, you got to think this through ahead of time, not after you've published the book.
Exactly.
How do you get people from the book to your email list or your Facebook group or your TikTok followers or wherever you primarily focus, so that you can then interact with them in a more personal way.
Yeah. So these checklists, the cheat sheets, or whatever you're giving as a like a companion guide with the program, can be put in the form of a PDF and given as a free bonus inside the book as a way to collect the leads, right?
Usually I do multiples. We have a chapter by chapter type of resource list, but that equivalent, yeah. So that they're getting value. They're not just opting in to get the same thing they've already read. They're getting value. They're like, for example, if you had a meditation in your book, or you suggested that people meditate, go to the resource area to hear a meditation or guided meditation that will help you with this, or whatever it might be. So those kinds of things.
Right. One thing that today you are known as an expert for, Marcia, I know you've had a fantastic career. You've done so many different things. But today when people talk about you, they talk about your high ticket group coaching program. So how does one, first of all, I want to ask you, why are you so passionate about group coaching versus one-on-one coaching? And how does one who's writing a book right now probably use their book to attract clients for their coaching programs?
Great question. And when someone is just starting out, let's say as a coach, and you're refining the specific steps and phases of your model, I see nothing wrong with having one-on-one as an initial sort of testing ground. But by the time you've done that for a few years, especially if you're an introvert like I am, and I think you said you were too, right? Or not?
Yeah, kind of. It depends on the situation.
Depends on the situation. Yeah. Anyway, if you want some time to yourself and you don't want to always be talking to clients, the one-on-one model, when it's very successful, it makes you very busy. That's one of the reasons why we really recommend the group model. And really getting the best clients means that you're going to be charging more than $100, $200, $500 kind of thing. Because you want people that really are investing in that result that you are able to help them achieve. I worded that very carefully. We can't do the work for our clients, but knowing that you have a process that to heal, use alternative healing to help with your cancer, which I've done, or to grow your business in a specific way, or to automate this or that. As long as people do the work and follow your instruction and your guidance, they should get the same kind of result for themselves. And so I love that model. In fact, that's what I wrote the newest book about, because it seems like what too many coaches do is they'll watch a YouTube video here and go to a free workshop there and read a book over here and try to like smush all that together and turn it into a workable business model where it's like putting all the wrong ingredients in the chocolate cake and expecting it to turn out like the package on, the picture on the front of the package. It doesn't work. So when you have a model, and we've really developed this model, not only in our own business, but also, with our clients, so that you can create that model for your high-end group program, have that be either drawn from your book or become what goes into your book. And then that becomes what do they still call it? The long tail of your brand, where it's just not a flash in the pan. I got bestseller status. Woohoo. It's okay. Now let's use this to really monetize the business in everything from including it as a bonus, maybe with your high-end program, sending it out free to prospects. If you've got a print on demand service that allows you to keep the cost down, whatever it might be, but just really seeing that as the foundation of the next 3 to 5 years of your work, because there will be a next phase for most of us, right? We get tired of one thing, we've got to move on to another. So that's how I've looked at it. And I've kind of had chapters of my work that's been based around specific models that were in all forms, from free report to, $25,000 coaching program. So just, you want to think of it as a suite and not just as a standalone product. I think that's the mindset to go into it with.
Absolutely. I think what you said now makes a lot of sense when I think about it, because my husband is a relationship coach and I see him do a lot of one-on-one coaching, which is great, I think, in the first few years. But after a point, you only have so many hours in a day, right? And you cannot keep increasing your rates beyond a certain point. And I think after a while, every coach kind of understands their system and they see a pattern in the kind of clients they attract. It's the similar kind of people with similar problems. So you have your signature system, which can work. And I think that's the right time to launch your high ticket group coaching. And I love the word high ticket because a lot of times we think that one-on-one can be high ticket, but anything that's in the group model has to be this subsidized, discounted thing, but it doesn't have to be. If your results are going to be phenomenal, then why not charge that premium?
Exactly. Yeah. And if you still want to keep a handful of high ticket clients, usually you want to triple the rate of the group program for the one-on-ones, because they're really getting that exclusive amount of your time, and keep the time that you devote to that to a minimum. I chose to give it up completely and to just focus on the group coaching because I wanted as much freedom as possible. Right. Just meeting with the clients twice a week, having the content recorded, and then answering questions on their client group in between sessions. So that works well for my lifestyle. My husband's retired and I've worked online for over 20 years now. So it, but again, for people that really enjoy the one-on-one, those higher priced clients can fund some of the initiatives that you want to do in your business too.
That's true. And I think that's the best way to get the ROI from your book project. One thing that I notice a lot these days, Marcia, is an author writes a book and then they move on to the next project quickly because the book is not giving them the returns that they dreamt of receiving. But that can only happen if they tie the book to their business, right? Like your coaching program. If they don't have that connection, then they cannot expect to sell millions of copies and get the return from the book project. A smart way of doing that is to use the book to get clients for your coaching program. Is that what you teach as well?
Yes. I never expect to get rich on my books. Never have. It's never been more than 5 or 10% of total income. Even with Hay House and Simon & Schuster and those kinds of people behind me, it's an extended business card. So the more people that you can get to read your book and be exposed to your approach and your philosophy, we definitely, have people reaching back out to us from Amazon occasionally, but of course, even better if they're buying it through your website and you're able to follow up directly with them. So, either however that you set that up, but yeah, definitely don't, other than people who are really super high profile politicians or movie stars or the latest scandal that just happened, you're not going to make millions on your book, typically speaking. But that's like quitting after your first launch, right? Oh, that launch didn't work, so I guess I'll go on and create another program. No, refine your launch method, refine how you're inviting people to your work, and until you really dial that in, then continue to repeat that on a regular basis until you've got your program as full as you want it.
Sure. Marcia, you just mentioned about selling the book from your own website. I don't see many authors do that because we usually have this belief that Amazon will give you the discoverability. So let's put it out there so more people can find your book. But you're talking about also having the book on your own website and having your own print-on-demand facility to fulfill that order. So do you do that for some of your books? And how does that work? Like, how do people find the book?
That is what we're going to be doing with this co-publishing arrangement for the high ticket group coaching method book is to I've specifically made arrangements with the people that are doing the publishing for that. So, because that way people find us on Amazon. I've got an author page there, like everybody should have, and all the books are there, but they will not release to you the names, emails, phone numbers, any of that information from the buyers So I think it just makes sense to also have your own portal. And if you're going to be giving it away, you don't want, you've got to have a way to give it away and not be spending an inordinate amount of money on postage and that kind of thing. So we have a print on demand company we've used for years, and that's where we'll be fulfilling the orders through our website. But they'll have the option of, if they find us on Amazon first and buy there, that's fine too.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think that's a great setup. So I would love to know about your upcoming book, Marcia. What is it about?
Well, it's we've kind of been referring to it throughout the interview. So it is the 8-part method that we've developed to create your own high-ticket group coaching program in today's environment, combining the strategy with the mindset and manifesting principles of a 6 or 7 figure CEO. So we start out with that's because that's an important part of our work too. And it isn't just about finding the right strategy. You can be in a really crappy energy and use the right strategy and have it not work for you. So it's a constant practice for us as entrepreneurs. I believe it's a spiritual path myself to really continue to elevate our energy, to stay in service mode, and to continue to stay in the right mindset. So we take people through the process of really refining what is the best focus area for you for that high ticket program. How should you structure it? Can you attract clients and or prospects and nurture them to become clients, and then deliver the program, whether it's Zoom or in person or some other online method. And we don't stop there. We also get into how to measure and scale, measure your results and scale the program so that you can literally serve hundreds of clients in a fraction of the time it would take you to serve 20 clients live. Wow. And so I'm really excited about it. It's coming out through Hasmark Publishing, and so I would invite everyone to get on the list to receive that, to get the pre-publication Kindle version, if you would like that, which will be available here, I don't know, a couple of weeks before we actually publish, I believe. So.
Awesome. I'm going to have the link to it because I'm looking forward more than anybody else to grab a copy of the book as soon as it's out. So we'll have the link below in the show notes, Marcia. I just want to ask one final thing. On your website, I see that you've been covered by a lot of national, media outlets, and that's a dream for a lot of authors. So what's your process to get the media coverage?
Well, be interesting. You know what I mean? Be relevant. And because they get hundreds of press releases every day. So I'm always looking in the environment, what's happening, like Valentine's Day or 4th of July, Independence Day here in the US, whatever it might be, you could provide an angle around your work that would tie into that you get to the media people, well enough ahead of time that they can include it in a week or two, sort of thing. So we'll be doing a press release publicity campaign about the book release. And then as let's say you have a client success story, that could lead to something else, particularly if it relates to another event in the world. So it's just an ongoing, giving attention to that and making sure that you're staying in touch with your local media and that they know you are a local expert when they need someone to quote. Of course, there's a website. What's the one that we're help a reporter out? Haro. Haro. Which if you really want to, that is a great opportunity to start getting visible, and then you begin to be reached out to by other outlets once you start being visible. So we'll be ramping that up for sure this year. Yeah.
I think your consistency has really paid off, because for a lot of people, PR is like a one-time thing. They do it around the book launch and then they forget about it. But you're constantly looking at ways to be relevant and interesting. And I think that's making, your work getting noticed by so many people.
Right. Without having to do silly dances and juggle things on my head and all that, like so TikTok. True. But yeah. Oh, TikTok is actually a great learning portal too. And that's so there's lots of avenues to get your work out there and to begin to build a following. And I guess that's another thing we haven't talked about, and I know we need to wrap up, but don't wait until you're ready to launch your book to build your following. Start today. Start inviting people to your Facebook group or to whatever sort of avenue that you have, your email list, so that you've got people to promote to when you either launch your coaching program or your book or whatever else might go with it. Because too many people focus so much on the writing that they forget all about the marketing until
there needs to be an audience to buy the first few copies, right? Before Amazon or whichever platform promotes you. You need that initial set of people who are already your followers. And as you rightly said, it's nice to be on different platforms, but it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. So if they like TikTok, let them just focus on TikTok and grow the following. If they are focused on their Facebook group, like I love your Facebook group, right? We did a live session there. It was amazing. So just choosing one platform and really focusing on that can really pay off in the long run.
Definitely. Yeah. Get that really, really strong before you start diversifying out. And ultimately you want several plates spinning, but the focus is really important because it's missing in so many people's lives.
Right. What would be your final word of advice for those aspiring authors who are already experts in whatever they're doing, but something is really stopping them from going ahead and publishing their first book?
I guess the first question that I would ask myself if I were them is, what am I afraid of? A lot of us women are afraid of visibility. We're afraid of being ridiculed. We've got these, psychic wounds from past lifetimes and all these things, potentially that, and maybe just childhood if you don't believe in past lifetimes, but that are, kind of rear their head whenever you're going to do your first video online, whenever you're going to do your first book. And I think it's a rite of passage, if I may say that, to not care. I'll just put it that way to be polite on the podcast. Not care what other people think. Your message is your message. Even your spouse isn't supposed to share your dream necessarily. It's your dream. And so if you're feeling really strongly guided to get this message out into the world, then just do it. Don't let your fear of rejection, your fear of ridicule, your fear of whatever get in your way of serving the people that are ready for you. Focus on those instead. Focus on the people that are missing out on your message right now because you're getting in your own way. And I'm speaking from experience. I can sabotage myself like the best of people, but I've just had to say, hey, I'm here to be of service. We've had, some icons pass recently. One of my favorite authors in December, and then another really well-known author here recently. And, it just makes you think, we don't have forever. We have the time we have, and we're here for a purpose. So it's up to us whether or not we fulfill that purpose.
Thank you, Marcia, for that profound message. It's really touched my heart. And where can people find out more about you?
Thanks for asking. Our website is transformationalthoughtleaders.com. We also have a gift for you that'll give you a sneak preview of the system that we'll be revealing in the book at transformationalthoughtleaders.biz/gift. Okay, so that is a report that we've created that kind of gives people an overview of the approach. And we periodically have workshops as well. So if you get onto our email list, we will let you know about those, and would be delighted to have you join us for an upcoming workshop.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marcia, for all the gifts and all the value that you added in today's episode. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been my pleasure.